everybody's phone. So now it's just your word against a billionaire. You're gonna lose. Read this right there from that young man.
Yeah, nah, this is a real issue. And I think Diddy's lawyers are right when you're talking about somebody who's not, supposed to not be able to be accessed in this way.
And that's super scary. If he, in fact, woke up with a knife to his throat.
Listen carefully. This is a real and scary situation. Diddy's lawyers are saying something important. A person in jail is not supposed to be put in danger like this. Nobody should be able to reach him in a way that could hurt him. Because imagine this. You wake up in the middle of the night. Your body feels strange, like something is wrong. The room is too quiet. Then you realize someone is standing near you. And there is a sharp knife right at your throat. That's what people say happened to Sean Diddy Combs, and that is terrifying. This isn't just about him being in trouble in court. This is about survival. Because Diddy is being held in a famous and dangerous jail in Brooklyn called MDC Brooklyn. It's a place with a dark history, and the people inside don't just forget things. They remember old stories. They remember the past, especially the past connected to hip-hop. This jail is close to a place called Quad Studios, where something huge happened back in 1994. That was the night rapper Tupac Shakur was shot 5 times. He was hurt badly, bleeding in the lobby. And even though he survived that night, it changed everything. People believe that moment started a major fight in hip-hop, the East Coast versus West Coast war. And 6 months later, another legend, Biggie Smalls, was killed too. Both deaths shocked the world. And to this day, people still feel like justice was never fully served. Now, years later, Diddy is sitting in that same city, locked up, surrounded by men who grew up hearing those stories. So when someone puts a knife to his throat, people think it's not random. They think it's a message, like someone is saying, "We didn't forget." Recently, rapper 50 Cent showed blurred footage of Diddy in jail. In the clip, Diddy looks frightened. His body is tense. His eyes move fast. He looks like someone who knows danger is close. Reports say he begged to be moved to another jail in New Jersey. That isn't just panic. That looks like fear from someone who recognizes what's happening. Because Diddy used to be one of the most powerful people in music. Private jets, mansions, fame. He moved like he owned the city. But now, he's waking up in a small cell with cold walls. No control, no luxury, just danger. And then more rumors started spreading. A former bodyguard named Gene Deal claimed Diddy was near Quad Studios the night Tupac was shot. He said Diddy wasn't just nearby, he was inside the building, watching. That is a huge accusation. It's not proven in court, but people talk, and street stories don't disappear. Then, in 1996, Tupac was shot again in Las Vegas. This time, he died. For years, nobody was arrested, until 2023, when a man named Keefe D was arrested. Keefe D reportedly claimed that Diddy wanted Tupac and Suge Knight dead. He even said there was a $1 million reward offered. Important note, police have said Diddy has never been officially charged in Tupac's murder. That matters, but people still whisper his name. And now Diddy is in jail while investigators are listening. Some believe the government may be holding him in this tough place on purpose, not just because of his current charges, but because pressure makes people talk. Because when you feel unsafe every night, when you feel trapped, people crack, people bargain, people confess. Diddy has reportedly tried everything: appeals, requests to move, even rumors of writing to Donald Trump asking for a pardon. He also sold big assets quickly, like his private jet. Some think that looks like someone preparing for something worse. And MDC Brooklyn is not safe. Even famous prisoners like R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell have been held there. It's known for violence, darkness, broken systems, and fear. So the knife incident wasn't just prison drama. It felt like a warning, like the past was knocking and it wasn't going away. People also bring up Biggie again. Some say Diddy pushed Biggie to go to Los Angeles even though Biggie was nervous. Some claim extra security was not provided and Biggie was killed there. Again, these are accusations and rumors, not proven facts, but the questions remain. And now Diddy sits in a place where people remember everything. Two legends are gone. Fans still want answers. Families still want justice. And if Diddy knows something, or if investigators believe he does, then this may not be the end. It may be the beginning of the truth finally coming out. Because in a place like MDC Brooklyn, the walls don't just hold people, they hold history. And history doesn't stay silent forever. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night and instantly knowing something is wrong. Not because of a loud noise, not because of a nightmare, but because your body feels it before your brain does. The air feels heavy, the room is too quiet. Your heart starts beating faster, even though you don't know why. Then you hear it, a scraping sound, slow, steady, metal against concrete. Now imagine that you are not in your bedroom, you are in a jail cell, a narrow space made of cold steel and gray concrete. No soft blankets, no locked doors you control, no security team, no bodyguards, just bars, shadows, and men who have nothing but time. And the sound gets closer. That is the image people can't stop talking about when it comes to Sean Diddy Combs and his current time inside MDC Brooklyn, one of the most talked about federal detention centers in the country. Diddy was once one of the most powerful men in music, a mogul, a hitmaker, a businessman, the man behind Bad Boy Records. He helped launch careers, he threw legendary parties, he lived in mansions, flew on private jets, and moved through New York like a king in his own kingdom. But now, instead of red carpets, there are cinder block walls. Instead of flashing cameras, there are flickering fluorescent lights. Instead of cheering crowds, there are locked doors and steel bunks. And the world isn't just watching because he's in legal trouble, they're watching because of what that jail represents. MDC Brooklyn is not just a building, it carries a reputation. Stories of violence, stories of power outages, stories of tension. It has housed famous inmates before, people with money, people with status, and history has shown that once the doors close, money doesn't always buy safety. That's where the rumors begin. Because Diddy isn't just any inmate, he is a symbol, and symbols attract attention. For decades, his name has been linked, sometimes fairly, sometimes unfairly, to some of the most painful chapters in hip-hop history. The East Coast versus West Coast rivalry, the shooting of Tupac Shakur at Quad Studios in 1994, the murder of Tupac in Las Vegas in 1996, the killing of the notorious B.I.G. in Los Angeles just months later. It is important to say clearly, Diddy has never been charged in connection with the murders of Tupac Shakur or Biggie. Law enforcement has publicly stated he was never officially named as a suspect in Tupac's case. That matters, but rumors in hip-hop have always moved faster than court documents. Stories live longer than headlines. And in prison, stories echo. In 2023, when Keefe D was arrested in connection with Tupac, old interviews resurfaced. In some of those past recordings, Keefe D allegedly claimed that Diddy had offered money connected to Tupac and Suge Knight. Those statements have been widely reported, but they remain allegations. They have not resulted in charges against Diddy. No court has proven them true. Still, when names from the past resurface, people pay attention. And when the past involves two of the most iconic artists ever, attention becomes obsession. Now, picture this. A man once surrounded by loyalty, security, and influence is suddenly in a place where he controls nothing. Every movement watched, every whisper heard, every rumor amplified. If someone approaches him in the dark, whether it's a threat, a warning, or just prison tension, the symbolism becomes louder than the action itself. Because this isn't just about a knife, it's about memory. The inmates inside that facility grew up hearing about the East Coast-West Coast War.
They grew up replaying the lyrics, watching the documentaries, debating who was responsible, who knew what, and who benefited from tragedy. In that environment, history doesn't fade, it circulates. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team has reportedly pushed for changes in his detention situation, citing safety and conditions. They have filed motions, they have appealed, they have argued that the environment poses risks. From a legal standpoint, that is standard defense strategy. From a public perspective, it feeds the narrative that something bigger is happening. Because here's the uncomfortable question that keeps surfacing. If he is not a flight risk, if he has homes, resources, and ties to the community, why keep him in a facility known for volatility? Some speculate it is simply procedure, others speculate there is more, and speculation thrives in silence. At the same time, footage allegedly linked to jail conditions circulated online, drawing even more attention. In clips discussed publicly, Diddy appears tense, alert, not relaxed. Supporters say that's understandable, anyone would look tense in jail. Critics say it looks like fear. But fear of what?
Ended up going to 50 Cent and his production company, and it's kind of the centerpiece.
Sold to them.
Yes, was the centerpiece of the documentary. So watch this particular scene, because this is where a lot of people feel Diddy really screwed over someone that he should be very, very...
Now let's talk about that.
Choices, travel plans, logistics. Those questions have circulated in documentaries and interviews. But questioning judgment is not the same as proving criminal intent. No court has found Diddy responsible for Biggie's death. But perception, once again, writes its own script. Fast forward to today. Diddy now faces serious federal charges unrelated to those historic murders. The details of those charges are being handled in court. That is the legal reality. However, some observers believe investigators may be reviewing broader patterns from his past. That belief is speculation. No public indictment has tied him to Tupac or Biggie. Yet speculation grows when timelines overlap. When a powerful figure falls, old stories resurface. Now add prison pressure. Federal detention centers are not comfortable places. Even for nonviolent defendants awaiting trial, conditions can be harsh. Limited movement, strict routines, tension between inmates, media attention, isolation. For someone who spent decades controlling rooms, controlling narratives, controlling outcomes, that loss of control can feel suffocating. Some believe investigators use pressure strategically, not illegally, but strategically. The idea is simple. When someone faces uncertainty, they may become more willing to cooperate in other matters. There is no public evidence confirming that such leverage is being used here, but defense teams often argue that harsh detention conditions unfairly pressure defendants. If prosecutors are indeed building any broader case, it would require evidence, not rumors, financial records, witness testimony, communications, concrete proof. Without that, there is no case. And that is where things stand publicly. No charges tying Diddy to the murders of Tupac or Biggie. But culturally, emotionally, symbolically, the conversation is far from over. For the families of Tupac and Biggie, decades have passed without full closure. Fans still debate, podcasts still analyze, documentaries still revisit timelines. So when someone whose name has long floated in the background suddenly loses power and faces federal detention, people connect dots, even if those dots have not been legally connected. That is the power of narrative. Inside MDC Brooklyn, Diddy is not a mogul. He is inmate number whatever the system assigns. Outside those walls, he is still a symbol, and symbols carry history. There are only a few possible futures. 1, he fights his current charges in court, and the outcome stays limited to those charges. 2, additional evidence emerges in unrelated investigations that expands the legal picture. 3, nothing beyond the current case materializes, and decades of speculation remain just that, speculation. Right now, no one outside the investigation knows. But here's what is certain. Time changes power, and prison changes perspective. If Diddy knows nothing about the murders, then history may eventually clear that shadow. If he knows something, even something small, pressure can make silence harder to maintain. Justice requires proof, rumors require none, and we are living in the space between those two forces. In that space, tension grows. The past waits, and the world watches. Not because they crave drama, but because two of the greatest artists in hip-hop history never received full, clear answers. And until those answers come, if they ever do, every connected name will carry weight. Right now, Sean Diddy Combs sits at the center of that weight. Not convicted of those historic crimes, not charged in those historic crimes, but undeniably connected to the era that produced them. And in a cell where walls echo, that connection may feel louder than ever. Whether it leads to truth or simply remains a shadow is a question only time and evidence can answer.
At the end of all of this, the rumors, the headlines, the documentaries, the old interviews resurfacing, the prison footage, the speculation, we are left with something bigger than one man. We are left with questions, and not small questions, big ones. Questions about power, questions about influence, questions about justice, questions about truth that has been buried under decades of noise. Sean Diddy Combs is sitting in a jail cell right now, facing serious legal battles of his own. That is the present reality. The courts will decide what happens in those cases based on evidence, testimony, and law. That process must play out fairly. But the reason this moment feels heavier than a normal celebrity trial is because history is attached to it. Two names still echo louder than almost anyone else in hip-hop: Tupac Shakur, Christopher Wallace, known as the Notorious B.I.G. Two lives cut short. Two families that never got full closure. Two cases that shaped an entire generation of music, culture, and identity. And for nearly 30 years, the culture has carried unanswered questions. Who knew what? Who said what? Who benefited? Who stayed silent? And why? It is important, deeply important, to separate fact from speculation. No court has convicted Diddy in connection with the murders of Tupac or Biggie. Law enforcement has publicly stated he was never officially named as a suspect in Tupac's case. That is real. That matters. But it is also real that his name has surfaced in conversations for decades, not in indictments, in whispers, in interviews, in old recordings, in documentaries. And whispers, when repeated long enough, become part of the story whether they are proven or not. That is why this moment feels like a crossroads, because we are no longer in the 1990s. We are not relying on street rumors and magazine covers. We are in an era of digital archives, recorded interviews, financial tracking, and federal investigations that move slowly but thoroughly. If there is truth hidden somewhere in the past, it will not stay hidden forever. But here is where you, the audience, matter. Because how we respond to moments like this says something about us. Do we rush to convict someone in our minds without evidence? Or do we demand facts before forming conclusions? Do we treat speculation as truth? Or do we hold space for both accountability and fairness? Justice is not served by mob mentality. It is not served by viral clips taken out of context. It is not served by choosing sides based on loyalty or dislike. Justice is served by evidence, by patience, by courage to look at uncomfortable truths when they are proven, and by restraint when they are not. This is bigger than Diddy. This is about a culture that has lost too many legends to violence. This is about families who still wake up without sons, without brothers, without fathers. This is about fans who grew up with music that shaped their identity, only to watch the artists disappear in gunfire and mystery. If there are answers still hidden, they deserve to come to light. If there are crimes still unpunished, they deserve accountability. If there are false narratives still circulating, they deserve correction. But none of that happens through noise. It happens through clarity. Right now, the legal system is moving. Investigations continue. Trials are scheduled. Evidence is being examined. That is where truth must come from, not comment sections. So here's the call to action. Stay informed, but stay responsible. Read full reports, not just headlines. Listen to complete interviews, not clip sound bites. Understand the difference between an allegation and a conviction. Demand transparency from institutions, but also demand fairness. If you care about Tupac and Biggie, honor them not just with nostalgia, but with a commitment to truth. That means not spreading claims as facts. It means not turning tragedy into entertainment. If you care about justice, understand that justice takes time. It often moves slower than emotion, slower than social media, slower than viral outrage. And if you care about accountability, remember that I'm going to build is proof strong enough to stand in court, not just strong enough to trend online. We live in a time where narratives can be built in minutes, but real truth is built carefully, brick by brick, document by document, testimony by testimony. And sometimes pressure reveals things that comfort never would. If there is more to this story, whether involving Diddy or anyone else, it will eventually surface through legal channels. If there isn't, then history will record decades of suspicion that never turned into proof. Either way, the outcome must be grounded in evidence. As observers, as fans, as members of a culture shaped by these events, our responsibility is simple. Stay sharp, stay curious, but stay disciplined. Do not let emotion outrun facts. Do not let anger replace analysis. Do not let loyalty silence critical thinking. And do not let hatred replace fairness. The next chapter in the story will unfold in courtrooms, not comment sections, in filings, not forums, in sworn testimony, not
The series, with the film.
I mean, I think the intention is to give a more full-bodied experience to what happened, you know, from the people that agreed to sit down and to participate. And I feel like the film asks a lot of questions, you know, maybe more questions are asked than answers given.
Speculation threats. When that chapter comes, be ready to evaluate it honestly, because the truth, whatever it is, deserves to be met with maturity. And the legacies of Tupac and Biggie deserve something better than endless rumor cycles. They deserve clarity. They deserve closure. They deserve justice rooted in fact. So as the situation continues to develop, pay attention, ask questions, but demand answers that are backed by evidence. And most importantly, remember that real justice is not about seeing someone fall. It is about seeing the truth stand. The story isn't over. The investigations aren't finished. The courts haven't spoken their final word. And until they do, the only responsible position is awareness without assumption. Stay watching, stay thinking. And when the truth finally arrives, in whatever form it comes, be ready to face it with honesty. Because history is still writing this chapter, and how we respond will shape how it's remembered.